What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. So I've been telling you guys for months, because you guys would ask me what's happening with Vegas, what's happening with the Ravens, what's happening with Seattle. And I kept telling y'all, wait, they're taking their sweet time. We might not find out till October. Well, we finally have some information. At least one of those teams has fully announced their roster. They've actually gotten rumors on the final two. So let's take a look at all three things. I'm going to kind of break down my thoughts on the rosters, maybe where they might put certain players in sort of some of these incomplete rumors, and kind of go from there. So let's dive in. All right, so first up, we have the Seattle Surge, who have announced their full roster with a pretty cool announcement video. I'm going to kind of break it down in a separate video, just kind of do a react to their announcement because I think it's kind of cool. But their team is Abuza, Illy, RCD's Hook with Rambo Ray as the GM slash coach. So a pretty interesting lineup. Sort of the face of things. I want to start with positives. I think there's a lot of skill on this team. There's 3 world champions on this team, and a player in Abuza who's probably the number 1 or number 2 prospect coming over from challengers this season. So as far as that, they're covered. I'm just a little kind of I think where this team is at is I feel like their ceiling is pretty high, but their floor is also super low. And here's why I think that's the case. One, you've got RCD's coming off a season at LA Gorillas in which he candidly didn't really play well. Probably his worst season as a pro. I mean, LAG was just a non-factor all season. He was probably one of the worst players on the team all year in terms of individual performance. And he's talked a lot about that he wants to rebound from that. Illy, obviously we know last year on OPTIC, he was on the team, off the team, on the team, off the team. And then he just didn't play at all after he got dropped off OPTIC. Didn't play challengers, didn't try and get another team. It was a weird situation. So not sure what's going on there, but it looks like he is coming back this year to run things back with Rambo Ray, who was his coach when he was on the Dallas Empire. Another Dallas Empire player, Hook. Kind of interesting season for Kyler. I thought that, he had a interesting start to the season on LAG, and then they dropped him, and then he got picked, literally dropped him, released him so he can get on another team. And then he went on OPTIC, and he played great online, when they were at the facility and sort of messing around with that. But once they got to land, you sort of saw a different side to his performances. I don't want to say that he was an online player, but Kyler's got a very distinct play style in the way that he plays, and I wonder if the pace of land environment kind of changed things around for him. So he has got a huge task on this team because he's the only real true sub player on the roster. So, I mean, that gets to kind of my next point is who's going to run the second sub on this team. I mean, Abuza ran an AR all last year in Challenger. Surely they're not going to put him on the sub, but they probably are. Illy, we've seen run a second sub at times, but honestly, he's aight at it. He's okay. He's not terrible. He's not amazing. So I think all of those questions combined for Seattle. Yes, this team could be a top 4 team. The chemistry could click, and they could be a really vibey squad that gets things done, or they can really absolutely flame out. And we see the players in Hook and our season, Illy, we saw last season with Abuza trying to make things work on the team, and they just kind of flirt with sort of being a top 8 team at the bottom. So I don't really know what to think here. This is a team I'm watching early in the season to see what kind of version of the squad we get, because it could be good or it could be really terrible. All right, so next up, we are getting to rumored teams here. So first up, we got the Carolina Royal Ravens. I'm sorry, every time I say that, it sounds crazy to me, but all good. Clayster is expected to be joining the Royal Ravens per CDL Scrim Intel. Nero and Fame are the 2 names mentioned alongside him. So I assume Fame's running a sub in this situation, I think. So they would be looking for a flex AR player, or they could pick up a 3rd sub player and then just kind of flex by committee. So this is where it gets kind of interesting, because I'm very curious what or who that flex player might be. Naturally, I feel like Asim's a name that's going to get linked to this team because of his past experience with Clay and with Brian Saint. But again, with the Nero and Fame, since you're running a sub role, it's a little tricky with Asim, although I do think he could probably run an AR. He did it in Modern Warfare. A couple of other names that I can kind of see in the situation. Attach, obviously, we'll get to him. He was linked to a different team, so it doesn't look like he's going to slide in here. And I wonder sort of if, past experiences with Brian Saint over in Minnesota, maybe there's not a great fit there. I don't know. Donnie Temp's obviously a name people are going to throw around a lot. You see Divinity in the comment below. This brings this up. I can see Don on this team with Clay. I know they had decent chemistry last year for Vegas. I know they didn't really do much with that chemistry, but they made Vegas a respectable team last season, so maybe they try and run it back. I think Godarex is another AR name we can see here. Hasn't been linked yet to any of these CDL squads from what I've heard, but would be I think a good fit with Clay. Clay kind of plays pretty quick for an AR. He's not a slow AR player, and God X is a little bit slower than him. So I think they could figure out AR chemistry well with those two guys. And I think a name the community I've seen kind of toss around is sort of the last name I'll bring up is Brack. Kind of an interesting one. He's kind of bounced in and out of teams on the sort of Florida situation. So I can kind of see it from a role perspective, but maybe not. I don't know if it would be a top option for me if I'm building this roster. I think Brack is decent, but I feel like him and Clay as an AR duo, I think they can probably do a little bit better. So I'm very curious to see who will be the next player linked to this roster. At the moment, it just seems like it's a team of 3, and maybe they haven't decided on their 4th just yet. All right, last team we're going to talk about, and you can tell from Tac Rab's reaction image of me to the left here. Vegas Legion roster that's been spoken about. Attach Purge, Mac, and Stanley with Sam Phoenix head coaching. So I'm going to be honest, I hate this roster, chat. I don't like using the word hate. I think it's a strong word, but I am not a fan of this roster for a number of reasons. I'm going to be honest with you. I like Sam. He's a nice guy. I know he's had success in challengers. I know that Seattle team has been decent, but I don't know how much of that is Sam's success as a coach. And I feel like there's a weird chemistry fit with Sam and this team. There's just like a lack of, I think, strong leadership on this team. Like really it falls on the shoulders of Dylan to kind of command these troops. And I look at sort of the players on this roster. Purge obviously getting his first shot in the CDL. Love it. Played great last season. I like that him on an AR here, which means Max running a second sub, which on Seattle was extremely iffy at times. And Stanley I like, but you know, Eli's got his own shortcomings as a player, and I want to see him develop from where he was when he came on the scene in Cold War. Like he played great in that game, but he's sort of plateaued a little bit from my perspective. He hasn't really grown as a player and gone to sort of a next level. I need to see him take that advance here because you look at the slaying, you look at sort of the pace of this team, and they're just not going to match some of the other squads. So it's an interesting team. It makes sense role-wise, although I'm not a fan of Mac on the second sub, but sure, he can run it. And he has one event running it, so we'll give them that. But as far as like what they can do as opposed to maybe some of the challenger squads we've seen rumored, and we'll cover that in another video, like, I don't know. I'm not a fan of this team. We'll see if it actually sticks and is a real squad. But I think, unfortunately, Vegas, for me, when we do a final tier list or a first tier list with kind of ranking all the teams once we hear about them, I think these guys are going to be near the bottom. So yeah, those are my roster thoughts. Later this week, I'm going to cover this sort of Seattle announcement in a video. We're going to also do another video where we're going to talk about some of the rumored challengers, EU and NA squads. It's early, so I don't know if any of those teams are going to stick, but we'll cover those because they were tweeted out yesterday as well. And then I may do a tier list video this week, just a prelim tier list ranking some of all of these squads. We haven't gotten like any news, like to be honest, we haven't heard a bupkis about LAG, so I don't know what's going on over there, but we'll probably do a tier list and just kind of do a prelim ranking and kind of see where I think some of these squads may land. So let me know what you guys think in the comments about some of these teams. Do you like them? Do you hate them? Let me know. Like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more. As always, guys, we will see you on the next one.